And welcome to Eco Africa, the environment magazine co-produced by NTV here in Uganda, Channels TV in Nigeria and DW in Germany. I am Sandra Twinobio, and with me today, as always, is my co-presenter Nyota Egbe. Hello Nyota, how are you today?
Hello there, Sandra. I am just fine, thank you very much. And a warm welcome to you, our dear viewers out there. We have a lot in store for you on today's program, so let's take a quick look at what's lined up today. In Senegal, we visit some students who are tinkering with a new solar car. In Germany, we hear about a push to make textiles from locally sourced wool. And Kenya, we learn once again how crucial it is to protect our water resources. First, we head to the south of the continent. South Africa's energy comes almost exclusively from coal-fired power plants, which is a major factor behind rising air pollution in urban areas. The government has announced plans to significantly increase the use of renewable sources within 10 years, be it solar, wind, or hydropower. The initiative is being spearheaded by Green Cape, a non-profit organization that provides assistance to innovative young green startups.
1 year ago, the Protea Heights Academy School in Cape Town went solar without paying for the installation. The system was financed by a crowdfunding platform. The idea: small investors buy panels and earn an income from selling the electricity to the school that is using them. So far, Abraham Cambridge's crowdfunding platform equipped over 30 schools and companies. Within 5 years, they plan to have more than 200 additional systems installed.
So if you all want to put money in solar panels for an environmental reason, put them in South Africa. You're offsetting 8 times the carbon emissions with a solar panel here in South Africa than it would do in Germany, for example. And you're getting twice as much electricity out of it. So it just makes more sense to put a solar panel where you're creating more social, environmental and economic impact.
And for the school, the solar energy is cheaper than power from the grid. With investments as little as €4, Sun Exchange is also open to people with less income. In fact, many of the pupils at Protea Heights invested in the solar cells themselves. Wendy Horn is the school's former principal. She says that aside from clean, cheap energy, the project also brings another benefit.
So when we launched it, our kids were so excited, our learners, to actually get involved in an entrepreneurial thing and actually buy little cells themselves and see how their money would increase or decrease or whatever. I mean, it created a huge entrepreneurial excitement. And that is also what we want to teach our children for the future, is entrepreneurial skills.
Innovative models to fund and produce green energy are urgently needed in South Africa. The government aims to produce a quarter of all electricity from renewables by 2030. Gerald Lyons works for Green Cape, a non-profit organization committed to expanding the green sector. Together with other lobby groups, Lyon made sure that energy startups gained an important role in government plans to transition South Africa towards renewables.
Cool. And they've set this roadmap out up until 2030. In that roadmap, or in the IRP, it states that there would be 20.4 gigawatts of renewable energy being procured, and that comprises all technologies within the renewable energy space. But for the first time, what is very interesting is that they have designated 4 gigawatts of small-scale embedded generation energy to inside of the IRP.
The policy document IRP, or Integrated Resource Plan, aims to have small-scale solar power solutions account for some 10% of South Africa's total energy mix. Then there are innovators who are looking to the ocean for help. Simon Weinberg's company developed an underwater pump powered by the ocean's waves. It turns salt water into drinking water, while at the same time producing a constant source of energy that could power up to 10 European households all year round.
There's always energy out there. If we sit here, we're looking at a whole range of waves that have come from different areas. There's a lot of stuff that's produced locally by the local winds, but there's an enormous amount of energy that's come from storms that could be thousands of miles away.
The wave pump is tied to a buoy that lifts the arm with each wave. The level movement pressurizes water to purify it and generate electricity at the same time. For years, the prototype unit was tested underwater and is now back in the workshop for some maintenance work. So far, the unit has proven that the concept works, the team says, despite the challenges.
We're very confident that these systems are going to be a big part of the solution in future. It's not ruling out solar or wind, but working in conjunction with them. The challenges with the ocean, though, is that it's an expensive system to develop when there's very little funding available.
With sufficient funding, the company could start build larger pumps next year that would feed into the power grid. The Sun Exchange crowdfunding platform, meanwhile, has just received an additional €3 million from one major investor, powering on South Africa's green energy transition.
Now, Eco-Africa viewers know we've often featured reports on research for the environment, from electric cars to doing-it-yourself wind turbines and recycling old laptop batteries. They are the creations of inventive young minds from various countries hoping to make their visions a reality.
That is right, Niote. And this week we have an innovation from Senegal. A group of young researchers at a university in Dakar have been working on a solar-powered vehicle for everyday use. Here's this week's Doing Your Bit.
This is a gazelle. It was built by university students in Dakar. It's powered by the sun. The idea was developed by students in Canada. The technical drawings come from Italy. The students in Senegal put the pieces together. It has a range of 60 kilometers. It can negotiate bumpy surfaces and carry 2 people or goods weighing up to 250 kilograms. More than half the population of Senegal has no electricity. The majority live in rural areas. Gazelle will provide power people need for their various endeavors, in the fields, or for any other activity that requires electricity. Gazelle is the answer to the problem. Gazelle's battery can be used to charge mobile phones or to run a 500-watt water pump for a full 12 hours.
And how about you? If you're also doing your bit, tell us about it. Visit our website or send us a tweet. #DoingYourBit. We share your stories.
Well, roaming the countryside in search of land for sheep or goats to graze, that's how shepherds all over the world spend their days. It can be a hard life, but for different reasons in different places. In Germany, most land is now privately owned and livestock shepherding has become increasingly rare. Another problem, the price of wool is so low, it's not even worth selling. But there are people who would like to see this luxurious natural textile put to good use.
Shepherd Florian Preis has brought his animals to rest in a green patch between warehouses and factories in the industrial Ruhr area in western Germany. He's one of the few shepherds left in the country.
There are around 1,000 professional shepherds left in Germany. That's not so many, really. I don't know many young people who want to do this job. I'll continue to do it with passion until I have to step down. It's certainly a dying profession that nobody wants to do. You don't make much money.
The sheep are eventually sold for their meat, but municipalities also pay shepherds to have their flocks graze on public land. But wool has become a losing business these days. Sales don't even cover the costs of having the sheep sheared.
That's some beautiful merino wool. I have merino sheep. They still have the best quality wool. I get over €1 per kilo. Colleagues of mine who have other breeds get a lot less. They get 45 to 65 cents per kilo. Some of them don't sell it anymore, choosing to burn the wool or toss it instead.
His wool goes to China, where it's processed and ends up in bedding, upholstery, carpets, and other textile products. Some of these end up back on the European market, where they're sold at high prices. That makes Brigitte Pappe furious.
It's totally absurd. Buyers here purchase the wool and send it all the way to China for washing. Then it's sent to Paris, where it's packaged, and suddenly everyone wants it.
Brigitte Pappe is a self-taught tailor. She initially trained to be a dental assistant. Now she's a businesswoman with a passion for wool. She calls her product Mosel tweed.
I wondered whether the wool from the sheep in our region was also suitable for fabric. And it turns out that it's very suitable for cloth. And at that point, I told myself that I'd do my best to save local wool.
The cloth is made in Germany solely from wool out of the region. She already has about 100 meters in stock. The company produces vests, caps, and sport coats from the material. Pappe receives support from the Wagenfeld spinning mill. In a globalized textile market, producing fabric regionally is difficult. The production costs are too high, the quantities too low. Her wool is processed here, dyed and spun into yarn. The Wagenfeld spinning mill wants to promote local wool, but has no illusions about the future of wool from Germany.
Sadly, consumers today are not willing to pay higher prices at the retail level. They're more interested in getting new products faster. They want to see trends and changes in fashion, so the cost has to be low. It would be nice if people could change their priorities.
Brigitte Pappe remains enthusiastic about her woolen fabric. It may be expensive, but demand from high-quality, sustainable fashion is growing. Her mission is to eventually produce quantities approaching 10,000 meters of her Mosel tweed.
And next, we head to Gabon, which is home to Africa's largest stable forest elephant population. But sadly, their numbers have decreased dramatically in recent decades.
That's right, Sandra. For farmers who lose their crops to roaming elephants, that may seem like good news. But in fact, the large animals are important for maintaining the ecological balance. So wildlife authorities in Lope National Park are working to protect the elephant while helping the locals to protect their fields and their villages.
For Eli Ibuanga and his anti-poaching team, this is the easy part of the job. Not far from their station in Lope National Park, they're gathering data on flora and fauna.
A family of elephants passed through here. They ate here, and then they moved here and left their traces.
Thanks to the rangers, the nature reserve has experienced no major wildlife crime in the last 2 years. Lope is one of 13 national parks established in Gabon in 2002. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and home to elephants, panthers, gorillas, buffalo, and over 400 bird species. These days, the elephants pose more of a problem than the poachers do. An important part of the work of the park manager and his team is communicating with the residents of the villages on the edges of the national park.
We realized that the elephants were more or less fleeing the interior of the forest because of growing pressure from poachers from the south and southwest.
Thanks to fences that the park officials have set up around the villages, the elephants are slowly retreating back into the forest. In 3 of the villages, electric fences protect the plantations.
We've been going hungry for 2 years. People were losing weight. There wasn't enough to eat. But this year we have enough again. We have vegetables. We've been able to harvest what we planted.
The cooperation between the park management and local residents is proving successful. For Josue Ndong, the fences in these communities have also come as a relief.
It was costing a lot of money. It takes 46 people to chase away 3 elephants. An elephant's not a dog. It's not a sheep that you can push away. With elephants, you have to be very strategic and vigilant.
Eli Ibwanga grew up here, like many of the rangers. He's confident that humans and wildlife can coexist peacefully.
We do this so that our children can see what we are seeing today. Today we only read about dinosaurs in books. We can't just drive animals to extinction, kill them without a second thought. That would be a big problem.
Tomorrow, Eli Ibwanga will be back at work in Lope National Park, and the rangers and villagers will continue to maintain the fences that can help to ensure their future.
Securing food is essential for all living creatures. It takes up much of the day for some, and the more we humans encroach on wildlife habitats, the more we have to assume that animals will come and feed from our gardens. But due to serious issues like water shortages, getting those gardens to grow is becoming harder and harder. In the south of France, farmers are having to drill deep wells to obtain water for their fruit trees and vegetable plants. But devising efficient ways to use the water also helps to preserve it.
These nectarines are growing plump, even though there has been little or no rain here recently. Thierry Bernard grows his fruit on 120 hectares in the Crau, a region of southeastern France. Each tree needs about 8 liters of water a day on average during the summer. There have been long periods of drought in recent years, and they exact a price. Bernard has installed a sophisticated irrigation system with a water pump and sensors on all the trees, and an app that lets him see how each tree is doing.
If the leaves are too wet, they can rot and attract pests. With this system, I can treat them with pesticides directly and only when it's absolutely necessary. So it's very economical.
Noami Bess is in charge of the equipment and the programming of the irrigation system. It is fed from a well that taps groundwater at a depth of 80 meters. The water is filtered and carefully dispensed with the help of a computer. The orchard is divided into 72 smaller plots.
This is what we use to run the system. I program the watering schedule. I select which plots to water and at what time of day and for how long. It lets us steer the entire irrigation process very accurately.
Summers in Europe are getting hotter and drier. Water is becoming scarce. The summer of 2018 was the hottest on record in Europe. Drought in the north and center of the continent saw crop yields plunge as much as 50%. Water rationing was introduced in some countries. In France, too, the farming sector is under mounting pressure. So it's important to optimize irrigation and not waste water. The local Chamber of Agriculture is interested in Thierry Bernard's pioneering work in the field. He's letting it conduct experiments on 3 of his 72 plots. Lauriane Morel monitors how much water there is in the soil and the trees.
The dendrometer lets you see if the branch of a peach tree is growing or shrinking. If it's shrinking, the tree needs water.
The project will track tree growth and yield for 3 years. The aim is to study the economic and environmental impact of a shortage of water. Growing fruit is an important part of the economy in this area.
We want to model future scenarios. If one day 10, 20, or 30% less water is available, will the fruit growers be able to respond appropriately?
For Thierry Bernard, the project will help him fine-tune his irrigation program.
Now, careful use of water is a crucial issue here too in Africa. Honduras Swamp is a wetland in Kiambu County in Kenya and also the headwater of a Nairobi River tributary. The wetland is an important source of water for farming and domestic use.
And there is more to that, Niyote. The swamp also helps to reduce the impact of floods during the rainy season and helps improve water quality. The area has suffered major degradation as a result of the illegal discharge of waste and encroachment by local people. That motivated members of the community to find a conservation project to protect the vital ecosystem.
There used to be lots of grey-crowned cranes here, but not anymore. Ondiri wetland was once home to all kinds of birds. The duck and heron populations have also declined. Wetlands bind CO2 and store rainwater. Ondiri is a key source of water for the nearby town of Kikuyu, as well as the Kenyan capital Nairobi. But Kikuyu is growing and getting ever closer to the wetland. Greenhouses and fields now reach right up to the edge of the swamp, which covers 3.3 square kilometres, the equivalent of 450 football pitches. Farmers used to harvest large amounts of grass from the wetland to feed their cattle, which meant birds had less room to build their nests. But that is no longer the case, thanks to David Wakogi and his colleagues, who make up the Friends of Ondiri Wetland Group.
When we started our work here, there were so many fodder harvesters who are harvesting fodder. And at the end of the year, just after summer, they could burn this place. And this place would have the whole biodiversity destroyed.
The group has 300 members. They are in the process of planting 8,000 young trees around the wetland to help prevent soil from the fields washing into the wetland when it rains, and to hinder cattle from going there to graze. David Kairu's farm is next to the wetland. He's keen to make sure that the trees here can thrive.
Since the trees were planted, the place looks good. In the past, there was grazing, and sometimes cows would get into the swamp and sink in the bog. And now there's no more grass harvesting either.
Another problem is that wastewater from the greenhouse pollutes the area with toxins, including heavy metals. That's serious, because the wetland is the source of a tributary of the Nairobi River, on whose waters the capital depends. The Friends of the Ondiri wetland have persuaded some farmers to give up this kind of intensive cultivation. And they're helping to undo the damage.
We are planting bamboo trees along this wetland. They are very good trees when it comes to sipping in the metals that are coming out of the greenhouse farming.
For a long time, the local authorities did little to protect the swamp, but that too is changing.
We are working directly with the farmers because you find the riparian areas, it's part of their land. So we are educating them and creating awareness. But again, we also encourage them to do organic farming because when it rains, and they have used chemicals, then these chemicals end up in our rivers.
Thanks in particular to the efforts of the Friends of Ondiri, the wetland has started to recover. Their next project is to build a trail for birdwatchers.
The birds that are found here can be of very important tourist attraction to this area because one, there are those areas that have been marked as important birding area, IBAs, and Ondiri wetland is not one of them. And that is one of the things that Friends of Ondiri want to achieve.
If things go well, Ondiri will once again become a paradise for birds. A recent survey found the wetland now supports more than 70 different species, as conditions here slowly improve.
I hope our show has convinced you of the importance of caring for our environment and maybe also inspired you to rethink the value of our precious water resources. And I hope you found our mixture of topics as interesting as I did. For now, it is a goodbye from me, Sandra Twinobudio, here in Kampala, Uganda.
And from me, Neo Taigwe in Lagos, it's goodbye. I hope you join us again next week. In the meantime, do be sure to check in with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or our website. So long for now, stay safe, and bye-bye.